Once, in a busy railway station, there lived a beggar. He had no home, no possessions, only a small bowl for collecting coins. Every day, he survived by asking strangers for help as they waited for their trains. One morning, as he was walking among the crowd, he spotted a man stepping onto the platform. The man wore a sharp suit, walked with confidence, and carried the kind of presence that made people turn their heads. The beggar thought to himself, "This man must be rich. If I ask him, surely he will give me something big." So, with hope in his eyes, he stretched out his hand. But instead of reaching for his wallet, the businessman looked him straight in the eye and asked, "Tell me, do you always just take from others? Have you ever given anything to anyone?" The beggar froze. Nobody had ever spoken to him like that. "Sir, I'm just a beggar," he replied quietly. "I have nothing to give." The businessman gave a small smile and said, "If you believe you have nothing to give, then you also have no right to ask. Life is an exchange. If you can offer me something, I'll happily give you something in return. But if you give nothing, why should anyone give to you?" Before the beggar could respond, the train whistled, and the businessman stepped on board. The beggar stood there, stunned. The man wasn't rude, he had simply spoken the truth. That night, the beggar lay awake on the cold station floor. The businessman's words echoed in his head. "If you want to receive, you must first give." He thought to himself, "But what do I have? I'm poor. I'm dirty. I owe nothing. What could I possibly give?" For 2 days he stopped begging completely. He just sat in silence, lost in thought. On the third day, as he sat on the platform, something caught his eye. Near the railway tracks, wildflowers were blooming, bright, colorful, alive. An idea suddenly sparked. "What if," he thought, "instead of just taking money, I give something small in return? What if I give people flowers?" He plucked a few, walked back to his usual spot and tried something new. When a passenger handed him a coin, he smiled and said, "Thank you," offering a flower in return. To his surprise, the passenger smiled back, accepted the flower, and walked away happier than before. The beggar felt a strange warmth inside. For the first time, he wasn't just taking, he was giving. Days turned into weeks. The beggar made it a habit. For every coin he offered a flower. People began to notice him, not as a nuisance, but as someone who brought a little beauty into their day. And then he discovered something incredible. On days when he had flowers, people gave generously. But when he ran out, the coins grew scarce. He realized a powerful truth. People like to give when they receive something in return. One afternoon, as he was handing out flowers, he saw a familiar face, the businessman sitting on the train again. The beggar rushed over, his hands full of flowers. "Sir," he said eagerly, "today I have something to give. If you give me money, I will give you flowers in return." The businessman smiled, handed him some cash, and accepted the flowers. "You have truly understood the value of exchange," he said. "Today you are no longer a beggar, you have become a businessman." Those words lit a fire in the beggar's heart. A businessman? Me? He thought long and hard, and then made a bold decision. That day, he left the railway station behind. 6 months later, at the same station, 2 well-dressed men shook hands. One of them looked at the other curiously. "Have we met before?" he asked. The other man smiled. "Yes, twice. Once, when you refused to give me money, and once, when you bought flowers from me." The businessman's eyes widened. "Wait, you were the beggar?" The man laughed. "Yes, that was me, but I am no longer a beggar. Today I run a flower business, and I'm traveling to expand it further." The businessman was astonished. "That's incredible. What changed?" The former beggar smiled. "You taught me the greatest truth of all. We only receive when we give. That day I realized I was never just a beggar. I was a businessman all along. I just had to see myself that way." The 2 men shook hands again, this time as equals. Then they boarded their trains, heading toward their futures. And here's the lesson for you and me. Life is shaped by how we see ourselves. If you believe you are small, you'll stay small. If you believe you have nothing to offer, you'll keep begging from life. But the moment you recognize your value, the moment you see yourself as capable, resourceful, and worthy, everything begins to change. Because success doesn't start with money. It doesn't start with opportunities. It starts with a single thought. So ask yourself, what are you thinking about yourself today? Because when your thoughts change, your future changes too.